This is the Barbados Today evening news for Wednesday, June 14. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary-Claire Williams. The tail end of a tropical wave is affecting the island, and the Met Office says the forecast is for partly cloudy to cloudy conditions with periods of rain, and this is expected to improve during the night. Well, the inclement weather has affected the attendance of local officials at the inaugural flight of Trans-Island Air between Barbados and St. Lucia today. Barbados Today's Colville Munzi reports.
Heavy rains have placed a damper on the official launch of the region's newest player in the air transport market. This morning, Trans-Island Air was set to announce itself to the Caribbean travel community at the Bay Garden Inn at Rodney Bay, St. Lucia. However, a tropical system affecting the island prevented several flights from landing at Grantley Adams International Airport, grounding several key officials, including Minister of Commerce Donville Innes and Airline Chief Executive Officer Bruce Kaufman. Members of the Barbadian media were flown in on an earlier flight and linked up with press from St. Lucia and St. Vincent before word came down that the event had to be postponed. The regional carrier is officially scheduled to begin operations next month and promises airfares as low as $50 US before taxes one way. The airline is currently set to service routes between Barbados, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, and St. Vincent. Even though flight operations will begin as scheduled, the launch has been pushed back to a date to be announced. This is Colville Munzi reporting for Barbados Today.
In other news this evening, the international business sector is warning that the issue of de-risking could spell disaster for the sector and the local economy if it is not addressed. And officials say they are disappointed that policymakers have not taken the issue into consideration. In fact, economist Jeremy Stephen is questioning this year's budgetary proposals, saying the 2% commission on foreign exchange transactions shows a disregard for the effects of de-risking. Stephen was addressing a panel discussion at a breakfast seminar of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Barbados International Business Association this morning.
The fact is that a lot of our legislation, or I would say the budgetary proposals, and if I'm allowed to go that far, of recent note, shows a clear disregard for the whole effect of the risking. And this isn't meant to be a soundbite, but it's the reality of the situation, because not only now are we raising the whole spectrum of the risking, but you've also got a 2% commission to pay on top of any transactions you're going to do. And there's no clarity, although 2 weeks from now, it still seems as if it's going to be business as unusual. Right? So, in light of no clarity, having no clarity at this point with respect to if corresponding banks will de-risk en masse, now it's becoming even more difficult to conduct international business and, well, importation altogether. When you start to then consider the ease of doing business for Caribbean countries, and more so here, will become even more challenged due to other taxes, it means the risking is just a small part of the whole issue.
Meanwhile, BIBA President Gregory McConney says increased regulation in the past decade could force people to seek alternative methods of doing business.
Competitiveness and attractiveness of Barbados as a place to invest and to carry on business continues to be eroded by the challenges we have with ease of doing business that seem to just continue to mount. This has been exacerbated by the significant impending budgetary tax increases that we expect will almost certainly drive inflation to near double-digit levels and also likely to have a shrinking impact on the economy. In addition to this, we see that there's a lack of clarity regarding the application and scope of certain of the budgetary measures. And even though it's been 2 weeks since these measures were announced, we're still waiting on clarity in terms of how particular aspects of them will be implemented.
Retired medical practitioner Dr. Maurice Smith is appealing to Barbadians to change their sedentary lifestyles and improve their eating habits. The retired gynecologist made the call yesterday at the UWI Cave Hill campus during the opening of Health Week. He raised the concerns in light of the high incidence of non-communicable diseases in Barbados. And he argued that the fight against NCDs is an uphill battle, with 25% of the population suffering from either hypertension, stroke, heart attack, or cancer. In sports now, England's Champions Trophy hopes were ended by an 8-wicket semi-final thrashing at the hands of Pakistan. England were the favourites to win the tournament, but they struggled on a slow pitch against some brilliant bowling and fielding by their opponents and only mustered 211 runs.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Morning, Miss O'Ya.
Morning! You again? So you're washing cars now? Well, I can't keep up with you at all.
Yes, girl, you know they're going provision to selling slow. And I don't sell nation newspapers at all because them don't sell. So I washing cars now. I like to get up before 8:30 because I can't take the hot sun. You want the car wash?
No, not today. It clean.
But you're going in very early though?
Yeah, I just going early so I can read the Barbados Today online before work starts.
Right. But you can still let me clean the vendor for the $2. At least it's still cheaper than the nation newspaper.
All right.
I got a special boo here that I got it shining. Thank you. Enjoy your day here.
You too.
All right. What that paper is? She can see clearly when the dirt is gone.
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. We continue with news from the region. One non-governmental organization in St. Lucia is calling for government to outline its policy on sexual violence against women following a spate of attacks. The latest involved the alleged rape of a 7-year-old girl in the East Coast village of Dennery on Tuesday and the sexual assault of a 22-year-old woman in another village on Monday. The NGO Raise Your Voice St. Lucia, Inc. says it is saddened by the persistent reports of such violence against women and girls, and it wants the Alan Chasney administration to state its position on the issue. On the international scene, the gunman who opened fire on Republican lawmakers this morning has died. The man fired repeatedly at the men playing on a baseball field in suburban Alexandria, Virginia, near Washington, D.C. House of Representatives Majority Whip Stephen Scalise was one of the 5 injured in the attack. We get the details in this Reuters report.
The Washington Post identifying the gunman as 66-year-old James T. Hodgkinson of Belleville, Illinois. Witnesses describe him carrying a Kalashnikov-style rifle. The Republicans had gathered for a practice for their annual softball game against the Democrats.
One staffer was shot out in the field, and he ran with a wound to the dugout.
President Trump saying the shooting suspect is now dead.
We can all agree that we are blessed to be Americans, that our children deserve to grow up in a nation of safety and peace, and that we are strongest when we are unified.
Many events in Washington canceled on the news. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe was at the scene, saying the nation's political discourse has gotten too divisive and saying there are too many guns on the streets.
We worry about this every day for all of our citizens.
Scalise, the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives, was shot in the hip. Also wounded were a Republican lobbyist and a staffer and 2 police officers. Scalise is out of surgery and is now recovering well, according to House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy. Representative Mo Brooks of Alabama said when Scalise was shot, he went down on the infield between first and second base, then dragged himself into the grassy outfield as the incident unfolded with a trail of blood following, according to Brooks.
That's news this evening. Remember, there is more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Mary Claire Williams. Have a good evening.